This video is brought to you by the TLDR socials. Get more from TLDR by following us on Instagram and Twitter, where we post explainers that never make it to YouTube. The link is in the description below. We made a video a couple of months back outlining the reasons why China might not overtake America as the world's dominant superpower, and chief among them was China's low birth rate. And, well, unfortunately for the CCP, that problem appears to be getting worse. Earlier this week, news broke that China's birth rate had fallen to a new low of just 7.5 births per 1,000 women, leading to the lowest population growth since the Great Famine, which happened between 1959 and 1961. So, in this video, we're going to take a look at how China got here, why it's a massive problem, and whether the CCP will be able to steer their way out of it. So, to understand this video, you're going to need a bit of context. To maintain a stable population, a country needs a fertility rate, that is, the number of births per female, of 2.1. Low fertility rates, that is, a fertility rate significantly below the replacement rate of 2.1, are economically and politically stressful. Low fertility rates means a smaller and, importantly, an older population. This means that there'll be less people of working age relative to pensioners, which means a smaller economically productive population sustaining a relatively larger non-productive population. This means two things. One, a smaller economy overall because you've got fewer working age people, and two, a higher tax burden on those young people that are working. This is because, assuming you want to maintain current quality of public services, you need to make sure that you're getting the same amount of tax per capita. But if you've got fewer working age people and more idle pensioners, then you need to tax those working age people more heavily to keep standards up. This is both bad economically, a higher tax burden will, at least in theory, discourage working, and bad socially, because it creates intergenerational unfairness. Now, it's worth saying that the whole world is currently suffering from low fertility rates. Most countries in the developed world have fertility rates below 2.1, and the global fertility rate is falling fast. This is essentially for three reasons: rising levels of urbanisation, rising levels of women's education, and falling levels of religiosity, all of which predict lower fertility rates. The global old age dependency ratio, which measures the number of working people per pensioner, is about 6.3. By 2050, it's expected to fall to 3.4, and by 2100 to just 2.4. This has already happened in Europe. The old age dependency ratio has gone from about 5 in 1997 to 3 in 2017. But while low fertility rates are a global issue, in China it's a full-on crisis. According to official data, China's fertility rate has remained relatively steady at about 1.6 for the last few decades, but the true figure is likely much lower. A 2010 census implied that it was actually just 1.2, and a 2016 survey by the Chinese State Statistics Bureau cited a figure as low as 1.05. For context, if this 1.05 figure is correct, it would mean that China has the lowest fertility rate in the world, coming in just below Taiwan at 1.07. China's working age population, defined as 15 to 59, has been shrinking since 2011, and the Financial Times reported that, according to leaked census data, China's population actually shrunk in 2020. Now, China's official data disputes this. They released this data suspiciously late though, and even the official data admits that population growth is slowing. China's low birth rate is largely due to the one-child policy, which was introduced in 1980, but there are other factors. Housing and education, for example, are uniquely expensive in China, which makes children pretty pricey. A report in 2019 found that a family in Shanghai could expect to spend 840,000 yuan on their little prince or princess from birth to the age of 15. Families that earn less than 50,000 yuan per year spend 70% of their income on their children. China is also not particularly keen on immigration. Other developed countries rely on younger than average immigrants to balance out their demographics, but for a whole load of cultural reasons, China doesn't really take in, well, any immigrants. For example, in 2016, the US, which has a fertility rate of about 1.7, took in about 1.2 million immigrants, while China issued just 1,576 permanent residency cards over the same period. Now, the CCP are very much aware of this problem and have implemented a load of so-called pro-natalist policies, which aim to increase the fertility rate. In 2015, they scrapped the 36-year-old one-child policy in favour of a new two-child policy, and in May 2021, they introduced a new three-child policy. Last year, more than 20 provincial or regional governments amended their family planning laws, including extending maternity leave for women. For example, Eastern Zhejiang province offers 188 days of maternity leave for the third child. And in the northern Shaanxi province, women can enjoy 350 days paid leave for having a third child, according to state media reports. They've also tried to reduce the cost of housing by reducing speculative investments and leverage in the property sector. That's what the whole Evergrande crisis is about, by the way. And have even cracked down on the £108 billion private tutoring industry. In July, China's highest governing body, the State Council, released new rules barring for-profit companies from tutoring in core curriculum subjects and foreign investment in such companies. Both of these measures are at least partly concerned with making child rearing less expensive in China. Unfortunately for the CCP, none of these measures seem to have worked very well. While there was a slight uptick in fertility rate in 2016 after the introduction of the two-child policy, it continued falling in 2017. And despite the introduction of the three-child policy last year, according to official data, China's fertility rate hit an all-time low in 2021. According to data released on Monday by China's National Bureau of Statistics, the world's most populous country recorded 10.62 million births last year, which translates to about 7.5 births per 1,000 people, the lowest since the founding of Communist China in 1949, and an 11.6% drop from 12.02 million in 2020. This translates to a fertility rate of just 1.15, and given the unreliability of official Chinese data, the true figure could plausibly be even lower. The number of births was just enough to outnumber deaths, with the population growing by 480,000, which translates to a growth rate of just 0.034%, the lowest since China's Great Famine. So, what happens now? Well, the CCP might resort to more extreme measures, including abortion controls. Around 9.7 million abortions are carried out each year in China, according to official statistics, yielding an abortion rate of roughly 28 per 1,000 women, compared with 13.5 per 1,000 women in the US. In 2018, authorities in Jiangxi introduced rules stipulating that abortions performed after 14 weeks must have signed approval from 3 medical professionals, and other local authorities have introduced similar policies. State media has started reminding Chinese women that older mothers are more likely to have babies with birth defects. Interestingly, the Soviet Union faced a similar problem after World War II, which they solved with a very successful childlessness tax from 1941 to 1992, which took 6% of the income for any childless man between 25 and 50, and any childless woman between 20 and 45. This is an interesting policy, but given that financial incentives have so far made little difference in China, it's not guaranteed to work. Anyway, what do you think? How bad is China's demographic problem, and how will the CCP respond? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram for more TLDR content. We've got accounts for all of our channels where you can find exclusive content and updates on stories as they break around the world. And of course, we really appreciate your support. And as ever, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos just like these people, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description below.